everyone, and welcome back to another Movie Nights movie review. Today we are talking about Emilia Pérez. This is the latest film coming from Netflix, although I believe it premiered at Cannes, and it might have even won the top prize at Cannes. I know it won a lot of awards in the film festival circuit. This is quite the interesting movie, and you might be seeing our interesting new background that we have here. This is a work in progress. This isn't final. This is just something that we're toying with, so please give us your thoughts on it. We are going to be adding more things and playing with it, so please keep us updated there on your thoughts. But let's dive into this review. Nicolas, did you have kind of any sort of expectation going into the movie? Did you know anything about the movie going in? Like, what was your kind of vibe?
I didn't know much about the inherent story within it. I just knew that this was a sort of blend of genres in it being sort of this crime gangster thriller mixed with a musical. And boy, it was all of those things.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. And so, off the bat, let me just say this, because I actually had a discussion about this movie with someone earlier today.
Mhm.
I am net positive on the movie, and that at the end of the day, I like the movie. I think it's good. I do think, however, it is being very hyped by a lot of award circuit people, and it didn't live up to those expectations for me. I don't consider it like one of the best films of the year in that regard, but that doesn't mean I think it's a bad film. I think it's a very good film. However, with that being said, this movie takes a ton of swings. What I can say is I've never seen a movie like this before, and that's a huge compliment that you can give it to any movie, but particularly this one. The
Except
swings,
Megalopolis.
you know what? Fair. That's
then
fair.
it's a negative. Then it's a negative.
That is fair. The swings that this movie takes, a lot of them work, a lot of them do not. And when they don't work, they do not work. It's very, you live in a moment that's not working a little bit too long and you feel that while you're watching it. However, on the contrary, when it flies, it fucking soars, dude. I think there are moments in this film that are genuinely terrific, like fantastic. There's a musical number at a gala that is so fucking good that I'm just like, I'm literally watching it going, Zoe Saldana just sealed her Oscar, like, in this sequence. And I don't know about you, but that's kind of how I personally feel about the movie.
I think you were kind of just like, middle of the road on it, skewing more positive. Like it's not an overwhelming positive, right? I
Yeah,
think I'm sort of in the middle on it too, but leaning, more like, if 3 stars is the middle, I'm probably at like 2.5. I assume you're probably like 3.5.
essentially, yes.
So I think we're kind of roughly around there. And I think really what kind of bogged it down for me was the musical. I think that
Okay.
there were a lot of musical numbers that did work, namely the one you just named with Zoe Saldana, and any other musical number that was sort of fantastical in its nature, I think worked really well. It was when you have these excellent dramatic moments that I think were weighed down or taken away from because of the characters would just randomly start kind of singing. But it wasn't a full song. They were still kind of just sing-songing their way to the end of the sentence.
Yeah, it
And
tried to
that
be
sort
like
of
an
took it away from
operatic
me.
musical, and those
Yeah.
sequences didn't work for me either.
But then the just dialogue scenes where it's just the tense action and the suspense, I think worked very well. And all great performances around from the lead actress to Zoe Saldana, who's also the lead actress, and Selena Gomez. I'm going to look up the main actress's name
No, that's what
because
I was doing when you were speaking. It's
I don't remember.
Karla Sofia Gascon.
Carla Sofia does a kick-ass job in this movie.
Fantastic
Like,
job.
holy shit.
Fantastic. Yes.
Give her an Oscar nomination yesterday. Same for Zoe Saldana.
Yeah, and
I
listen,
think both anchored this movie really well.
yeah, and even Selena Gomez is fantastic in the movie. And to me, she's the best singer. Like her singing sequences, she did amazing, and which comes as no surprise, knowing her career. But something that I'll give it, kind of piggybacking off of you, is
Hmm.
the challenge the movie had of you're playing with like 3 to 4 different genres that you have to use the tropes of each genre while also try to subvert expectations of each genre. So
Hmm.
trying to balance that balancing act is insanely fucking hard.
Yeah.
And which is why one of the reasons why like I lean positive on it is because like I'm not signing up for that task. Like that just seems like a nightmare to try to do.
Hmm.
But at the same time, there are musical moments in the movie that are fantastic. There are musical moments in the movie that aren't. There are drama moments in the movie that are fantastic. There are drama moments in the movie that aren't. There are funny moments in the movie that work, funny moments that aren't. Like, and it's just kind of a mixed bag. But like I said, when the movie flies, it soars, meaning the highs are high. And one of my favorite sequences, I won't give anything away. You'll only know what I'm talking about if you've seen it, so I'll be vague. A scene that played with expectation, I think, exceptionally well, was there's a sequence where a character walks into a room, and it establishes before that they have a knife that they've put in their bag. And then they walk into a room to have a conversation with someone. And the way that you think that scene is about to play out has you fully tense on the edge of your seat, like, oh shit, what's going to happen here? And the revelation of what was actually happening was a subversion of expectation to me that actually worked in building this relationship with these characters that you would eventually see. And that was something that I thought was a very good way of trying to blend those three genres of like a musical, a drama, and a gangster movie, and trying to like put them together into one sequence. I think that sequence kind of worked. And there are other examples of that, but for every two of those, there's a musical sequence that you and I are looking at each other like, this needs to stop. Like, this scene's going on a bit too long.
We're kind of skirting around a lot of stuff here because there's something that really hasn't been revealed in the marketing too much.
Yeah.
And like the IMDb descriptions that we don't want to necessarily give away, even though it is sort of the biggest thing of the movie. But to have this surprise going into the movie, I think makes it a better movie-going experience.
I agree. And to me, I think that the biggest negative I have for the film on a filmmaking level is actually the editing. I thought the film was edited a bit strange for the story it was telling, and there were multiple opportunities where you could rearrange sequences, and I think the flow of the movie would be much better. But for whatever reason, it's edited the way it is. That's just a small thing where, like, to me, that bothered me more than some of the like stuff they didn't work. Some of the stuff that didn't work because of the swings that they were taking. Because, like, again, just because a movie took a swing doesn't mean you have to call it good.
Yeah.
And which is why I'm calling out, like, there are a lot of things in the movie that don't work. But for me, there are more things in the movie that do, which is why I lean positive on it. And the reason why a lot of people will kind of, I expect people to watch this review and kind of take what I'm saying as, oh, hated the movie. Not true. I think it's just because I did go into this movie expecting it to be like a 5-star movie, and it's not. It's really not.
Especially with the buzz on it. I do think it'll end up getting quite a few Oscar nominations, just if it can carry that buzz through.
I agree, especially for the performances. But
yes,
it's still a solid movie. Like, to me, it's a good movie. It's a good movie. And what I'm very curious about is how it's going to play on Netflix. I have no fucking clue how audiences are going to respond to this movie at all. And I'm so looking forward to when it comes out and what the reaction is.
Yeah, it'll definitely be interesting. I was happy we got to experience it on a big screen just because that's my preferred form of watching a movie.
Same.
But given just the nature of the high wire act, the different genre blending, it was definitely an interesting watch and experience that I don't know if it's going to be for everyone. I kind of leaned a little more negative on it, but I still did enjoy it, for what it is. I just think that it was an excellent idea for a crime thriller that I think the musical aspect, while ambitious to me, hindered the movie.
No, and I don't. That's not a crazy thing to say. Like I think if you removed the musical aspect of this movie and just replaced it with more drama or more comedy, the movie still fundamentally works. I think if you take out the other two things, the twist and the other genre, then the film doesn't work. So to that point, what you're saying isn't necessarily incorrect. I just think that for the handful of musical sequences that do work, to me, they did elevate the movie. Especially the Gala one. I've mentioned it more than once.
The Gala one was really good.
The Gala one's great.
No, I'll give you the Gala one.
Yeah.
But to me, like, that's the only one that I'm walking away remembering. That and the one that was really bad that you and I were looking at each other like, what's happening?
Yeah. There are
so you kind of have polar opposites, and then everything else that was between those spectrums, I could not tell you any of them.
And listen, that's fair. Yeah. I also think that to your point about the musical though, had each sequence in the movie been as good, each musical sequence been as good as the Gala one, that's your 5-star movie. And I think that's where the subjectivity of this is coming from, is I think there are people who like every musical sequence in the movie and why the movie fundamentally works better for them. There's also a musical sequence in the beginning, like the first two musical sequences I thought were really good. They were also with Zoe Saldana. And then there's a couple in the middle that are just like there's one musical sequence that's just straight up awful. Like it's not even like,
Yeah.
oh, this is kind of bad. There's one that's straight up awful, and which can hinder the movie. But again, I will say, just overall, at the end of the day, in a yes or no world, it was a yes. It just wasn't as enthusiastic of a yes as I thought it would be.
Mhm. No, I,
Yeah.
I agree. I think I would. Meh. That's sort of where I've ended up on it.
And listen,
It's
that's totally
I don't
fair.
want to say yes or no because I do think it's a very unique film.
Yeah.
Again, I agree to your point. I haven't seen anything quite like it before. I just don't know if it's for everyone, and I think it's a risk. And I appreciate Netflix also taking the risk on it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and 100%. Like, huge risk. I can see why. I can see why they sold it to Netflix because I don't know
Mhm.
what other distributor is going to pick this up, especially
Yeah, no,
theatrically.
it's a hell of a movie to market, and Netflix doesn't market, so it
So
kind of
there
works.
you go. There
It's
you go.
perfect.
Yeah, and what's funny though is as soon as the movie started, because like I knew that Netflix had bought it and it wasn't an original, but you can tell from the opening frame of this movie that like, oh yeah, Netflix didn't make this; they just bought it
Oh no, because
because
there
it
were
looked.
about 50 other studios
Yeah,
listed.
well that and just from a cinematography perspective, the movie actually looked good. I was
Mhm.
like, yeah, Netflix didn't shoot this, but, but
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Oh no, and I'm actually glad you brought that up. Kind of final thought here.
Mhm.
This movie is getting Oscar buzz. It's getting a lot of love from critic societies. Yet when you watch the movie, there's like 12 production company logos,
So many
and
production
it
companies.
just proves, but it proves for those out there, making a movie is fucking hard. Even a
Mhm.
movie that has Zoe Saldana and Selena Gomez had to split up between like 12 production and distribution companies. Like, so don't get discouraged if you're making your movie and you have a hard
Yeah.
time. This movie had a hard time, and it's loaded with very A-list people. But yeah, yeah. So
Mhm.
that's I think that pretty much does it on the review. Did you have anything else you wanted to add?
No, I think that covers it for me.
All right, sweet. Guys, when you watch Emilia Pérez, what did you think? I'd love to hear your thoughts down in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next review.